All right, Sort of Sports Podcast, episode 54. Now, here we're in the dead middle of July. July 16th is currently the day. I haven't seen Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 yet. I think I'm going to go see that in theaters. But, realistically, we are officially 5 days out from Barbenheimer. So that is super exciting. And Friday, I'll be going to Barbie in the afternoon, getting a little dinner, and then turning right around and going to Oppenheimer in the evening. So it's a big family event. My girlfriend's going. My sister and her boyfriend are going. My grandparents might be going. My parents are going. It's a big old shebang. So I'm very excited. The next podcast will definitely be reviews of those. I'll probably have a lot to say. So at least about one of them. I'm not sure if both of them. At least one of them will probably make the Hall of Fame. I have high expectations for both these movies. And, that kind of factors into it. I wasn't planning on talking about this first. We might as well. The writers and actors strike is still going on. The writers have been striking for about a month now. And maybe it's a little longer than that, actually. And the actors just went on strike, too. I definitely stand with the writers and the actors. I'm glad they're striking. And, it's pretty complicated. I don't want to, try to... I'm not going to try to explain it really because I don't know the most about what I'm talking about. But, based off what I've read about the writers and, they need to be getting paid residuals more for streaming stuff. They're not getting paid that much. And, they deserve to make more money off that. And, I'm definitely in agreement that the writers and the actors should make more, and with the movie studios and everything going on. But like I said, I'm not really, I don't know a ton about what's going on. I've watched some videos, read a couple articles. I understand what the writers, I understand some of the things the writers going against, obviously AI in the writing room, and like I said about that with the residuals and streaming and different things like that. The actor stuff, I'm not as sure about what exactly they're asking for, but regardless, I think I stand with both them. Because, based off what I read about the writers' stuff, I definitely agree with them, and I think the actors are striking for similar purposes. Guys like Bob Iger, you never really want to see win, the CEO of Disney. So, definitely on the side of them. But, we got a really big year left of movies. We still got Dune Part 2 coming out, David Fincher's movie The Killer, Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm trying to think if there's really anything huge. I mean, the Marvels, but I don't really care. Blue Beetle, still excited for that. So we still got some pretty big movies coming out. Barbie and Oppenheimer are two of the biggest, though. It's the big two of the summer, felt like. But, I mean, Mission Impossible, big deal. I might see it in theaters. I'm not sure. It just kind of, my mind is just in the Barbie Oppenheimer set right now. So, but I know Dead Reckoning is doing very well at the box office, and I'm sure it's really good. I'm sure I'll watch it when it comes out. And it's probably a movie that would benefit from watching in theaters. But, I've watched some movies at home that I, at the time, went, oh, man, I should watch that in theaters. I just watched The Northman yesterday, and I was like, man, that was good. Wish I would have went and saw it in theaters because it really would have benefited it. So maybe this will be another one of those where I don't see it in theaters, and, I wish I have. Would have. Wish I have. Wish I would have seen it in theaters. I did go see Indiana Jones 5, though, in theaters, and it was all right. It was fine. It was not... It was better than The Flash. Gosh, I don't even want to talk about The Flash. I did not like The Flash. Did not work for me, really at all. I thought it was pretty bad. So anybody who said it was one of the best superhero movies I've ever seen, I don't know, did they watch the same movie as me? Felt like I never really connected with hardly any of the characters. It was, not impressive. Not impressed. Hopefully Blue Beetle's good. Really, the big thing is, right now there's still a lot of big movies coming out, but this strike is going to affect stuff down the road, late 2024, and then most of 2025 films. If this strike continues on, we're going to see those films delayed, which obviously I understand, if that's what has to happen for, the writers and actors to get their demands. I get it, but, it does kind of suck because it's a shame to see that stuff delayed, but I completely get it. But yes, for the next 6 months, you're not really going to notice the difference. But after, like I said, once we start hitting summer 2024 range, you're going to be oh, there's going to be this weird dead period where there's not as much being released as you would have thought because of this strike. That would be where that's going to affect. So just keep that in mind with releases. I got no clue when the strike's going to end. I mean, it could be tomorrow or it could be in 6 months, but it doesn't look like it's going to be tomorrow. So we'll see what goes on, and hopefully they get it worked out. It's obviously a lot of complicated stuff with figuring out how to pay them based off streaming stuff, but it's something that needs to be done. So, yeah. So it's good that we have all these big films releasing, because I do think we're going to go through a little bit of a drought there, and then we'll be back to where we're at. Hopefully Superman Legacy doesn't get delayed. Gosh, I'm so excited for that movie. They just cast some more people. Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. They cast, I forget his name, but he's Mr. Terrific. They cast Isabel Merced, I think it's Merced, right? As Hawk Girl. And they cast Anthony Carrigan from Barry, NoHo Hank from Barry, that's what I know him from at least, as Metamorpho. So I was listening. I know I wasn't listening. I was watching a Nando V Movies video, and it was actually on the Nando Cut, his second channel, for those of you that watch Nando V Movies. And he was talking about, it looks like we might be getting Justice League International, and that's going to be like the DCU's Justice League. And I think that'd be great. For those of you who don't know, DC in DC Comics, Justice League International was like right after, in the 80s, like the Justice League had been the main team that had like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, like the main big heroes. And then, they'd been around for about 20 years at that point, and they were kind of losing some steam, and they did their big event, Crisis on Infinite Earth, so like reset the whole universe. And the DC heads, like the heads of DC were like, hey, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Flash can't be put in this new Justice League. They're too busy with their new stories. So the guy who wrote Justice League had to go in a completely different direction. So he named him Justice League International, because at the time it was Justice League of America. So to show that it was like a different vibe now, he did Justice League International, and it was like Guy Gardner was Green Lantern, Mr. Miracle was on the team. Batman is really like the only big name hero on the team. I'm trying to think who else was there. Dr. Fate, Blue Beetle, a lot of your like B, C list heroes of DC were there. Not a ton of A-listers. Like really Batman's the biggest one, and Martian Manhunter. But anymore, I don't think Martian Manhunter's really in the cultural zeitgeist at all. So I think that would be a very James Gunn move to do that as his Justice League team, because that is the misfit of Justice League teams. So it makes sense, because James Gunn, what he's really good at with his superhero projects is taking characters that were lesser known. Like the Guardians were like D-tier superheroes. Like I didn't even know any of them when that movie came out. And I didn't even know Peacemaker was a real superhero. I didn't even realize he was in the comic books until he made Peacemaker and Suicide Squad. So he's really good at elevating lesser-known characters to being fan favorites. And I think Justice League International would be the way to do that. And it's also nice refresh from you don't feel like you're rehashing the Justice League movies that have already come out that weren't very good. So it makes a lot of sense. And then that would keep Superman away from the Justice League. So he's going to be like an individual hero, and then he's going to have the Authority team. And it looks like we might be getting the Terrifics, because the Terrifics are Phantom Girl, Metamorpho, Mr. Terrific, and Plastic Man. And 2 of those 4 are already in Superman Legacy. So maybe from the jump, we're going to have the Terrifics and then the Authority, and then down the line, we're getting Justice League International, which would be really cool. Like, I think that's a really interesting universe, and it's very different than what you'd expect. And I like that. I like that we're not just getting we're not just doing, okay, well, we're going to do a good version of what Zack Snyder did. No, like we're going a completely different direction, very unique direction, and I like that, elevating new characters. But still, Green Lantern's getting a show, Superman's getting a movie, Batman's getting a movie. Like, it's a nice mix of lesser known with still big name players. I like that a lot. I'm really excited for what DC has ahead of them. But all this talk about the DC stuff made me want to go back and watch some of their animated shows, because I really like Batman the Animated Series, really like Superman the Animated Series. And I'd watched a little bit of Batman Beyond, and I jokingly said on the podcast, if they ever want to make a Batman Beyond animated movie series, I got some ideas. And it was funny, because that night, I ended up watching an episode of Batman Beyond, and I was like, oh crap, this is really good. I hadn't watched like a ton before, I just knew of it, and I had watched a couple episodes. So then I started watching some episodes, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I've really been loving Batman Beyond. It is super great. I have also mapped out in my head a movie trilogy, if they ever want to call me. But it's, I highly recommend Batman Beyond to literally anybody. It's blew away what I kind of expected from it. Terry McGinnis and the world they put him in is so different than, it's not just Batman in the future. It's a completely different vibe. It's almost like Spider-Man-esque, the way he's in high school and he's got his girlfriend, and There's a bully character kind of like Flash Thompson. And DC doesn't have a lot of characters like that. A lot of their heroes, their private lives are adults. And so it's interesting to have someone whose private life is a high school kid and it takes up more time. Because like Bruce Wayne, he can run away from being Bruce Wayne. He kind of does it all the time. And I think it's interesting that, like, other than Clark Kent, you look at the main superheroes of DC, their private lives are just kind of a thing that happens. Like, I mean, there's not a lot of Flash stories where, like, Barry Allen stuff really gets intense and he doesn't have time to be Flash. Same thing of Green Lantern. I mean, Wonder Woman is Wonder Woman. She doesn't really have, I mean, her alter ego is just a disguise. And then, Batman pretty much runs away from being Bruce Wayne most of the time. So, at least of late in like movies and TV shows, really Clark Kent's the only one that's got stuff going on. So it's interesting in Batman Beyond to have a character who does have a private life, and it has like Spider-Man vibes to it. I really like that. And I think the whole world of Batman Beyond's cool because they commit to the futuristic setting, not to the point where it makes the show, like that's the whole gimmick of the show, but it just gives the show a completely different vibe. It doesn't feel like, all right, now we're just doing more Batman. No, it's puts them in a completely different setting with the flying cars, and the music is like this weird 90s like futuristic techno rock sound. It's super cool, very synth. And I like that. I like how unique it makes the show feel. I love really everything going on with the show. That's why I think I'm going to call this episode of the podcast my 2 new favorite shows, because I've been watching Batman Beyond and been absolutely loving it. I would recommend it to anybody who likes anything Batman related. They just released the show My Adventures with Superman, which is a new animated show from DC, and it's Superman based, and I'm a big Superman guy, so I'm very excited to watch that. I'm going to start that soon. And Jack Quaid voices Superman, and I like Jack Quaid because he's Huey in The Boys, and I love The Boys. So pretty excited to watch My Adventures with Superman. Might actually start that tonight, but it's time to shift over to the show I also started watching, which is the Justice League series. There's a lot of animated DC shows I'm interested in watching. I'll probably eventually watch the Teen Titans show, Young Justice, and Batman the Brave and the Bold kind of interests me. Yeah, I think I'll watch that too. The Batman show I hear is really good, but I don't really have as much interest in that as much as Brave and the Bold. Even though more people like the Batman better than Brave and the Bold, I think Brave and the Bold looks cool because he incorporates the different heroes like Plastic Man, Green Arrow, Blue Beetle, etc. And I like that. And once you start Justice League, you watch those 2 seasons, then you watch the 3 seasons of Unlimited, which is cool. But what I really enjoy about Justice League is that, like, every hero they nail. Like, the version of Superman in the Superman animated series, I've always said, like, ever since I started watching Superman the animated series, I'm like, it is the best interpretation of Superman I've ever seen. They nail him as a character. Like, perfect. And that continues in Justice League, except they do that across the board. Like, Flash is on point as Wally West Flash, because Wally West Flash is a jokester. He's always making jokes, and, it kind of frustrates me that the Flash movies have committed to this idea that, like, they make Barry Allen act like Wally West, where he's like a jokester, which then makes both characters pointless, because if Barry Allen acts like Wally West, then there's no point in having both, if they're the same person. It'd be like if Miles Morales acted just like Peter, well, then there's no point in having both. Either just make every Spider-Man Peter, make every Spider-Man Miles. The fact that they act different makes it worthwhile that there's 2. So, when I'm watching Justice League, I like the fact that's the way Wally acts, and I'm thinking, okay, well, if they ever introduced Barry would act differently than Wally, and that's the way it should be. And that's why, part of the reason I watched the new Flash movie of Ezra Miller frustrated me is because Barry Allen acts like Wally West, where he's this big jokester, and he's messing around. And that's not how Barry Allen is. That's how Wally West is. So if you're going to do that, why make him Barry Allen? It doesn't make any sense to me. But regardless, back to the Justice League show. I think, James Gunn has said he's a big fan of the Justice League animated show. And so if this is the vibe he's going for, I would love it. Because I love Hawkgirl on this show. She's great. They really hammer home her, fight first, talk later attitude. And that's the way she rocks. And I think it balances well with Superman, who's always like, whoa, let's look at this diplomatically, which is very interesting because Superman is the most powerful superhero on the planet, and he's the one that's like, hey, whoa, chill out. So I just think it shows the characters all act so different that it lets them play off each other very well. Jon Stewart's also my favorite Green Lantern, so I really enjoy the way they show him in the show. I'm really excited to see what they do with Jon Stewart in the upcoming DCU stuff. And I just think he's a great character. I love Jon Stewart. I think Hal Jordan is honestly like the least interesting Green Lantern. Like him and Kyle Rayner are like bottom two. Top two is like Guy Gardner and Jon Stewart. They're more interesting than Rayner and Hal, in my opinion. So I really like Jon Stewart. I think he's cool. Yeah, I don't know. The main seven, this Justice League 7 is Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Hawkgirl, Green Lantern, Flash, and Martian Manhunter. I really like that combo. I think like Martian Manhunter is like a good character to have as like the guy who brings the whole Justice League together. And, he's very cold, calculated, but he's smart. They need him. And I like having him there. Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman all play off each other well. They're known for, their personalities. All are very distinct, and they play off each other well. Hawkgirl has some similarities to Wonder Woman, but they do a good job making him not just the same person. And the idea in the show is that Wonder Woman's completely new to being a superhero, so that brings a big difference between Hawkgirl, who's like very experienced, and Wonder Woman, who is more new, and I like that. And then Flash and Green Lantern play off each other very well because Green Lantern is more stoic and serious, and Flash is very jokey, and I think that works well together. And I like how Flash plays off. Flash is always trying to hit on the girls, and I think it's funny that Wonder Woman and Hawkgirl, neither of them are entertained by him, and I like the way that plays. I just think that this group of 7, is a more fun combo to watch than the Zack Snyder 7, because I think, I know what the new 52 is what Zack Snyder's 7 is, and I am not a huge fan of having a Cyborg as part of the Justice League. I like Cyborg better as a Teen Titans character. That's just me personally. As a guy who used to read the 80s Teen Titans comics, vastly prefer that. Just me personally, just a personal preference. So, also like Aquaman, I like, but kind of would say if you're saying Aquaman or Green Lantern, come on, Green Lantern, or like, well, I guess Zack Snyder is the new 52/7 except for Green Lantern. So I guess maybe we'd say like you're replacing Aquaman with Hawkgirl, or you're replacing Aquaman with Martian Manhunter. I think I'd rather have Hawkgirl. I think there's an argument you can give me that you'd rather have Aquaman over Martian Manhunter. I mean, I get that. But I really like the way they write Martian Manhunter in this show. I don't know. I really like what they're doing. So if James Gunn's going to take pieces from the animated series, that'd be great, because this Justice League show is absolutely banging. I mean, I already really like Batman the animated series and Superman the animated series. I felt like those nailed those characters, and the fact that they're having a show with 7 main heroes and they're all on point exactly the way I would like want to see them, I'm like, mwah, excellent show, excelente, so good. I haven't watched that much of this show. I've watched more Batman Beyond, but I mean, there was an episode where Jon Stewart was on like space trial, and they all worked together to get him out of it, and that was like when the show hit another level. I was like, oh, this is legit. This is a stupid good show. Like, this is great. So, yeah, the Justice League show is excellent. Batman Beyond, it's cool to watch them. You can watch them both simultaneously because they're so different. Where, like, Justice League is like this team of heroes that go out, and they always pretty much doing, like, world-shattering stuff. Whereas Batman Beyond, it's like there might be a like, the one episode was really cool. It was like Mr. Freeze. He's been frozen, and he's still alive, and he's, like, in a, like, cryogenically frozen. And he breaks loose, and, at first, he's a good man, and then he snaps and goes back to being Mr. Freeze when he realizes he can't get healed. And he's going to revert back to his old form. And that show, I mean, that was really cool because it used the Batman the Animated Series, what you know of Mr. Freeze, to elevate the episode. But it also was like, it's not required reading to watch Batman the Animated Series before this. So I just really liked how that played off of it, and I thought it was really, really an interesting episode. I just think Batman Beyond is really good at delivering like a smaller, every episode's a new story, and it might be like a business. Usually it's Wayne Power, who's like the big bad guys, usually a lot of the time, like kind of like an Oscorp style thing. They do something like they're trying to sabotage Fox, like Lucius Fox's company. It would be like Lucius Fox's son, I think is who it is. And so then Terry McGinnis go in there and take care of that, and then he meets like a superpowered mercenary. That's like one of the episodes. It was like the 3rd episode, I think. Her name was Ink, and she was cool. It was an interesting villain. So like they do those really well. Whereas Justice League, it might be like a lot of the episodes are 2 to 3 parts because there's just a lot going on and there's a lot of characters, and so they contrast a lot in the style of show, and I really enjoy that. There's a lot more DC shows I'm going to watch, like I said, like Teen Titans show, the Young Justice show, Static Shock. Like I said, Brave and the Bold's interesting to me. So there's a lot more I got to watch down the line. But I'm saying with these two, anybody who's interested, highly recommend it. Like I said, I'm going to start my Adventures of Superman soon, so I'll probably review that eventually. But yeah, as a guy who's a big fan of Invincible, this is some more great superhero television, and I'm digging it. Really, Marvel, the only like cartoons I can think of off the top of my head that are really good are the Spectacular Spider-Man show and the X-Men show. Past that, I don't know if I'm forgetting something, but those are like the two that I remember being excellent. Whereas these DC shows, I'm like, there's like 6 or 7 shows that are interesting to me. I might even try the Green Lantern animated series. People say it's underrated, so I'll have to look into it. Came out like when Ryan Reynolds' movie came out. So, yeah, these are like my 2 new favorite shows. I think they're absolutely great. There's a very high chance one of them wins the award for best show I watched this year at the Sort of Sporties. And yeah, it's really, I think that's all I got to say. I just wanted to record a pod basically saying, look, Batman Beyond is so good, and I love Batman Beyond. It's so unique, and the Justice League show is so on point interpretations of these DC characters. I've always like flip-flop between Marvel and DC. You know what I like better? I think right now I'm definitely more of a DC guy. Really, the only thing that keeps Marvel afloat for me is like Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, and then I love the X-Men stuff. But like overall, like I think the middle of the pack, like I prefer DC, but like the highest highs is Marvel. Like the X-Men and Spider-Man, I love all their stuff. But it's like after that, it's like DC I think has more stuff I like in the middle. I don't know if that actually makes sense at all. I don't know. Because I do like the Guardians a lot too. That's tough for me. Because like there's very distinct things with Marvel I really like, whereas DC, I just kind of like the overall picture. If that makes sense. I don't know. Marvel has a more pocketed universe, it feels like. Like it feels like with DC, there's like the Batman pocket is like the main pocket universe. And then there's like, obviously there's more pocket universes, but like the ones that are very popular, it's like there's the Batman pocket, there's the Superman pocket, and there's pretty much everything else. It's kind of the way it rocks. I mean, like, yes, the Flash pocket exists, the Green Lantern pocket exists, but like, actually, I would say the Green Lantern pocket's kind of a big deal because it's got all the different colored rings and stuff. But like, the X-Men pocket and the Spider-Man pocket are cooler than like any other pocket universe of DC. Just my opinion. But like, overall, I don't know. Okay. This conversation another time. At the moment, I'm preferring DC stuff because I'm watching their shows and they're really cool, and I'm really excited for their new movies. Their new movies are going to be dope, so I'm very excited for all that. What was I going to say? Also, I guess I'm not a huge Flash guy, just in general. Like, I honestly would say at this point I prefer Green Arrow over the Flash. But I think it's just because Flash has kind of become so played out because of the Grant Gustin show and everything. Like, the whole Zoom and reverse Flash thing with the, oh, I killed your mother bear. Like, there's all those memes about it now, and it just kind of become played out. Like, other than, like, Captain Cold and Captain Boomerang, I don't really care for any of his villains anymore because, like, Reverse Flash and Zoom, now they're, like, different characters, even though originally they weren't. Now they are, and it's a whole thing, and like, I'm not a big Weather Wizard fan, or Heat Wave's kind of just worse Captain Cold. So, yeah. I don't know. I prefer Green Arrow over Flash at this point. Like I said, he's cool, but I like what James Gunn's doing, introducing like Mr. Terrific and Metamorpho and these different heroes. Like that's what I want to see. Like I'm sick of getting Flash stuff. It's gotta be a while till you introduce Flash because I don't really care. Oh, I should say my dog Michael Rosenbaum, who absolutely kills it as Lex Luthor in Smallville. Like my favorite part of watching Smallville is for him. He voices the Flash in the Justice League show, and he kills it. And I think it's so funny to me because I'm like, dude, you were literally he was filming Smallville while voicing the Flash in the animated show. Like, and he's killing both parts. I'm like, he like single-handedly makes me like the Flash in that show, and I'm not a big Flash guy. When I was younger, I was a huge Flash fan. Now that I've gotten older, he's like one of my least favorite out of the main DC characters. I'm just being honest, guys. So, yeah. A little shout out there to Michael Rosenbaum for being a legend. All right, let's wrap up with some MLB because they said today that the Rays are apparently like a sleeper to get Shohei Ohtani. I would actually lose my mind if that happened. I don't think I'm that lucky, but that'd be crazy. Obviously, the trade deadline isn't for about 3 weeks, but just looking at the way it is right now, if the MLB season ended today, your first seed in the NL would be the Braves. Your second seed would be the Dodgers. Your third seed would be the Giants. Yeah, the Giants. Wow. It felt like it was going to be the Diamondbacks, but then it was the Giants. It was going to be the Giants. No, not the third seed. They still do division winners. My bad. So it would be Braves, Dodgers, Brewers, and then your wild cards would be Giants, Diamondbacks, and Marlins. My dogs love the Marlins. I'm so happy for the Marlins. Then in the AL, it would be Rays, Rangers, Twins, with the wild cards being the Astros, Orioles, and Blue Jays. So actually, it would be Orioles, Blue Jays, Astros. That'd be the order. The Orioles, gosh, this has been a really fun season. I mean, we're over halfway now. It's just weird to think because it feels like the All-Star break's halfway, but it's actually a little over halfway. But now we're about to get in those dog days of August where you really see who the legit teams are. And then September, we start looking at the teams that streak and think, okay, you might have a chance to win the World Series. This year, it's really been exciting. I mean, the Rangers are a team that have taken a big step up. The Orioles took a massive step up. Marlins took a big step up. Reds took a huge step up. Pirates are not doing as well as they were early on. I think I single-handedly cursed them. So that's kind of a shame by me. Diamondbacks obviously took a big step up. Giants are back to being good. There's just a lot of fun things. I think I cursed the Padres. I think I'm just terrible for baseball. I am a curse because I picked the White Sox back-to-back years. They disappoint. They've permanently disappointed. I mean, they're still bad. I kind of hate the White Sox now, and because they've disappointed me so much. And now the Padres are disappointing me hardcore too. They're not even going to make the playoffs, and I picked them to win the World Series. That's annoying. Honestly, I'm going to be dead serious, though. If you said pick the World Series right now, I would say Rays or Braves with the Braves winning. It just, when they played each other last week, I was just like, yeah, these are like the best two teams in baseball. Like, no doubt about it. And the only teams right now with more than 60 wins, Rays have 60, Braves have 61. They just both seem like absolute units. I mean, they're just the best teams in baseball. I'm not really a Braves hater that much anymore because my dog Spencer Strider, who I picked to win Cy Young, and gosh, I should have bet on it because I should have had somebody bet on it for me because Ohio gambling laws screw me over. But, gosh, Spencer Strider looks like he is going to win Cy Young. I picked that one. Ronald Acuna is probably going to win MVP. And then for the AL, Shohei has to win MVP. If he doesn't win MVP, it's stupid because he has to be. I think Shohei might be traded. I'm not sure what's going to go on. It would be crazy if he did. And we'll see. If the Rays get Shohei, that probably puts them over the hump to win the World Series because you're getting the best player in baseball. At this point, I do think Shohei Ohtani is going to go down as the greatest baseball player of all time when his career is over. He's not the greatest baseball player of all time right now. But if he keeps his pace up, he will be because he is absolutely insane. But yeah, that's my prediction right now. A little over middle of the season prediction is Braves over Rays. Hopefully I can remember that and pick that when the playoffs come because it usually feels like my middle of the season prediction end up being more accurate than my end of the season because I get too excited about a team like I did with the Mets last year. So yeah, the Braves just look like absolute world beaters right now. Give them credit. Love what the Orioles are doing. Love what the Reds are doing. Ellie De La Cruz, it's super exciting over there. Like they're not, the closest team to me that's not in Cleveland. I think Pittsburgh might be a little closer to me, but regardless, really like what the Reds got going on. Really proud of them, and yeah. Now, this was kind of just a podcast to get my thoughts out there. Just kind of recommend Batman Beyond for its uniqueness, Justice League for its just on point. If you want good DC stuff, you watch the Justice League show. It's so good. And for those of you who already watch it, you know what I'm talking about. It's absolutely banging show. And so, yeah, that was just kind of what I was getting out there. Letting everybody know. Probably next episode I'm going to talk about Barbie and Oppenheimer. That'll be hype. And I will see you all in the next one. Quinn, sorry that they took Super Friends off Max. It's really disappointing. I know you love Super Friends. All right, well, that's it. See you all in the next one.